Hey guys, I'm so excited. Today is Wine Wednesday, and I am here with my dear friend who she's just inspired me so much. I met her at a women's event about a year and 2 years ago.
2 years, yeah.
2 years ago, and we just kind of connected instantly. We're both growing in our journey and we're seeking more. So we've stayed in touch. She's a very successful real estate agent here in Colorado Springs. She also is a speaker. She also has her own podcast of empowering women called She's Real, and I'll give you more information on that later so you can check that out. But in addition to that, I have the honor of having her here to share her story a little bit. As you guys know, I've been sharing my personal stories of things that I'm not so proud of at the moment, but I've continued to move forward because in life we get knocked down a million times, but it's how we pick ourselves up and keep pushing. So she has an incredible story, and she's going to share one of them with us. We're so lucky to have you, but first we need to cheers. So cheers to Wine Wednesday.
Woo-hoo.
We're so excited. And I love that I continue to talk as I go. And you guys, it's not wine, it's vitamin juice this time. I switched it up. But
mine is wine.
Yes. And we're also, as you know, supporting One Hope Wine because they give back. So we're super excited to be a part of that as well. So,
absolutely.
Colsie, I'm sorry that took a minute, but I'm just so happy to have you on tonight. And whatever you want to share, I think it's just great for us to keep rolling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me into your world, first of all, because I am honored and feel very blessed to be here with you. And I respect you so much, Marissa, because you and I have gone down, I think, very similar paths in life. We are the type of women that are very headstrong and are going to overcome any circumstances that kind of try to block us from who we are meant to be. But we were born into this time frame for a reason, and we have overcome our own obstacles because being true to who we were was more important than anything else.
Amen.
Right?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I mean, the catalyst of change and circumstance is really what pushes us to the next level. And I see that within you, and I see that within myself. And I think that's where we kind of really connect.
Absolutely.
Change is something that is extremely necessary. And it's something that's necessary for us to really embody and to really understand, because our circumstances don't always define us. Just because we were born into a certain situation, or just because certain things have happened to us in life, it doesn't change the fact that we can still overcome them, and we can still become the most powerful, uplifting, aligned version of ourselves.
Amen. I agree 150,000%.
Yes. And I think you and I have really come together in this aspect, in this world, because we are so similar in that arena. Life hasn't always been easy.
No.
And it never necessarily will be easy, but it's what we make of it and how we handle it and how we show up in those hard moments that kind of make us who we are.
That is why I love her. She has such a vision. She can see things, and she can see the bigger picture. And that's not always easy to do, but having gone through situations in life, that's kind of, how you grow to see the bigger picture once you've gotten through one thing after another. So thank you. I love that.
Absolutely. So to give you guys a little bit of a backstory on who I am, I grew up in a situation that was the type of situation that would leave most people saying, oh, who knows what's going to happen with these kids. There was a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, a lot of fighting, police. I grew up a lot in bars. I saw adults doing really hard things at a very young age. And none of that was ever easy for me. But I always knew that I was meant for more, because even when I was young and I was seeing all of these hard things happening day in and day out, I always told myself, someday I will have the power to change this. I might not have it right now, and it might be really, really hard for me right now, and I might not be feeling like I'm even a part of this family. Like, do I even belong here? But as a child, you can't change your circumstances. You don't have that power, right? But there was always something inside of me that said, someday I'm going to get out of this. And someday I'm going to make something of myself. And so that's what I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. I know. And this woman has made huge, I mean, I'm just so inspired. I couldn't even wait to get over here. You saw my video of me dancing. I mean, I was just like, oh, this is so exciting. I get to be in the presence of such an amazing human. So,
oh, I love you.
I love you, girl. So, yes.
So, I guess to tell the basis of the story, I was born into a family of very young parents, and they were not ready by any means to have children when they did. I definitely don't think it was ever a planned thing.
I know.
I think it was something that just happened to them, but they didn't take their circumstances and say, hey, look, now we have children. Now it's time to do something different. My parents were both very big partiers, very selfish, I guess you would say, in their own right. I mean, selfishness is a human right to have. Mm-hmm. You can be a selfish person, but when you bring children into the world, there's usually something that triggers and changes that piece of you. For my parents, it was really hard. They fought consistently. They both were on drugs and alcohol, and that fueled a lot of flames in our house. I remember multiple times police being in my home after massive fighting was taking place because of the alcohol, because of the drugs, because of the other people they were allowing into their lives. That was something we dealt with forever, you know, and I mean, not that there weren't good times. Of course there were good times. Mm-hmm. And I did feel loved. Mm-hmm. You know, they just didn't have the internal tools that they needed to kind of overcome that lifestyle and make a better life for us. Mm-hmm. There were moments where things were looking up, and I would thought that, you know, oh, maybe they're coming around, maybe things are getting better, but then it would always kind of go back down, you know, down the drain. So probably one of the biggest catalysts in my life was my mom wasn't always around. My mom was in and out of my life as a child because she always had the intention of going out and fixing herself, but then that actually didn't ever happen in those moments, you know? And so we stayed with my dad, and when I was young, he was very present and very loving and caring, and which is very, you know, necessary, but he also was gone a lot. And he, I think when I was about 13, he met a woman who actually was the mother of some friends of mine, and they ended up getting married. And at that point, I thought, here we go. Now there's this woman coming in who's going to help my dad be a better person and make sure he shows up and does the things he's supposed to do. Well, that didn't happen. So we went down years of me feeling like I had an evil stepmother who, you know, wasn't very present with my sister and I. And then my dad kind of just following, you know, whatever she said. So that was those years were really difficult. But little did we know what it was leading up to. So I'm in high school at the time, and my sister was only 12, so she was very young. And I had just gotten my first job.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, and I was very excited about it, and I was feeling like here's a catalyst to the end. Yeah. You know, yeah. I'm working, I'm making money, I'm going to be able to pay my own bills, because there were times where my dad just wouldn't pay my cell phone bill, or he just wouldn't give me money for gas, or, you know, like I was always incapacitated because it was outside of my control. Sure. You know, and at this point, I'm about 17. I had a very serious boyfriend at the time who is now my husband. But luckily for him, he kind of stepped into my life right when he needed to. Because I go to my job, and he picks me up from my job, And then I get in the car and he's going to take me home. We're going to go change clothes or do, and go do something. And then I get a call from my mom. And she was like, Colsie, where are you? And I said, well, I'm just leaving work. What's going on? And she's like, well, you need to get home right now. And I was like, what do you mean I need to get home right now? And she says, your dad is going to jail and you need to get home.
And this is your real mother who
This is my, somebody had called her and got a hold of her, and she hadn't been around. I hadn't seen her in a while, up until this point, but I'm just like, okay, this is weird. What's going on? So we rush home, and I pull up to a house that is surrounded by caution tape. Like, you're not getting in. And I remember pulling up and feeling the ultimate shame. Because I had dealt with this type of behavior my whole life, but here I am at 17 thinking I'm breaking free of it. And these problems were to continue to follow me. So we pull up to the house, and more than curiosity, more than concern, anger is what comes up. I had no idea what had happened at this point, but I knew they just had messed up. And I was like, how can you just do this? My stepmom had 3 kids of her own who were all similar ages to my sister and I, and then it was me and my sister. There was 5 of us kids who lived in this house. And I just saw red. And I remember getting out of the car and starting to walk towards the house, and I had police officers coming towards me saying, you can't. And I remember looking at them and just saying, get out of my way, and they did. Wow. And I walked over to the cop car where I saw my dad, and he's just sitting there in shame, and I was like, what did you do? What did you do? And he just looked at me and he just shook his head, and he just was like defeated. And he wouldn't speak to me because he couldn't. And I turn around and I go to the next cop car where I see my stepmom sitting in the back seat. And she's just sobbing. I'm sorry. And I'm just like, no, you guys can't, this isn't okay. You're not sorry because the only reason you're sorry is because you got caught. What's really sorry is that the 5 of us kids are now standing here, can't even enter our home, and have nowhere to go. So we were actually completely, locked out of the house. I find out that the reason the cops were at my house is because my parents tried to create a meth lab in our garage. And they got caught because they were reckless. They never succeeded in creating anything, but they sure tried. And this was a moment of what's going to happen now? Where are we going to go now? We can't even enter our home again. My dad's going to jail. My sister and I ended up going and staying with a cousin just to have a place to go. Once the police had, finished clearing the house and released it back to us, it had been probably about a month or so after, this had happened. Well, my dad's still in jail at that time. So my mom steps in, who hasn't been around. She's been off doing her thing. But she steps in and just decides to move into my dad's house and say, I'm going to be here because I'm here to take care of, the kids. Yet this was more of an opportunity for her, is what it felt like. Instead of saying, here I am to take care of you, I'm going to step in and I'm going to have this house and I'm going to have these things that, whatever. So, this was a very hard transition.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, it was very difficult. It was very difficult. And my mom was not in a place where she was really taking on a parental role for me at that time. I really, at this time I was 17, but I had really kind of been on my own. I mean, I lived with my dad, my stepmom, but on my own, taking care of myself since I was about 15. Okay. I'm not going to negate the fact I had a roof over my head and things like that, but I mean, I was cooking dinner for my siblings. I was making sure I got to school and home from school every day. I was making sure I showed up to, my sports practices. Like, my parents didn't even show up to watch me perform. You know, they wouldn't even show up to watch me race and track or perform in drama or any, like nobody would even be there.